Welcome everyone to the C2 10 on 1, 10 minutes on one topic. Today's guest is James Murphy, CEO of Willmeng Construction, been around for about 45 years now. I'm Andrew Cheney with the Coppola-Cheney Group of Lee and Associates, also based in Phoenix. And today we're going to be talking about construction pricing and why it is so darn high and how it's affecting all of our deals and making all of our lives more challenging, taking up more time. So James, thanks for being here. We're going to get right into it. And I'm just going to start off. We'll start off on the office side. Office TIs. Yep. So what used to cost a reasonable amount no longer is costing that same amount. And everyone's going into a deal with these assumptions. And then the TI pricing comes back and it's shocking to everyone. It happens time and time again. So why is TI pricing so high, especially on the office side?
No, fair question. And, for the last 24 months in particular, we've seen escalation across the board to the tune of 45 to 50%. And obviously there isn't a piece of real estate in the nation from a pro forma point of view that was ready for that type of compressed price escalation. And for most recently, oil in particular, when you see Putin cross a border and you get spiking in oil, it literally impacts every delivery, it impacts everything that's shipped, it impacts everything. And so anyway, as your base commodity prices, oil, copper, steel move, it really has impacted any and all things construction. And then in the greater Phoenix market, the volume of construction and the stretch on labor, are the subcontractors charging a premium? I would say they are. Do I advocate, and they're making a mint? No, they're not. Their tradesmen are charging them a premium as well. And I would actually argue, if you talk to the sureties, the typical subcontractor over the last 2 years has not been as profitable as they're putting out pricing. They're forced to hold the pricing because I'm asked to hold my pricing and they have to hold their pricing. And then Putin crosses the border, turns off a major oil pipeline, price per barrel skyrockets. So there's material escalation on his end. And then at the same time, his favorite foreman wants to meet with him to tell them that he's got an offer for $3 an hour more to join brand X, right? And it's been rampant.
So more on the labor, what's going on? If we had, 100 units of labor 3 years ago, do we just have less units of labor and more work? How's the labor supply compared to what it was?
Yeah. So, this market in particular, the 8, 9, 10 bubble that we're also thankful that we don't expect to see again. It's a diverse economy now. It's not a stucco entitled market like it was then. And this is where every time I get near this conversation, I tend to think, Arizona State University for one, a quality graduate based, innovative university cranking out, 90,000 graduates or whatever the number
says
is.
The Sun Devil on the other end of the line.
I am a Sun Devil. And but anyway, the diverse economy that we now have compared to then has generated a rate of growth that has greatly exceeded the trade's ability to grow with that growth, particularly over the last 4 to 5 years. And let's face it, when mom and dad are sitting at the kitchen table with Junior, they're not pushing him to go become an electrician. And because of that, as all industries have been relatively hot over the last 5 years, demand for talent is pulling people. Kids are making money as YouTubers. There are a lot of options other than go turn a wrench and physically earn it. So anyway, as a result, the demand for talent has pulled talent away, and the labor pool has been unable to keep up with demand, and it's actually gotten a little bit worse year over year for the last 5 years in a row. We are now getting to the point that the wage, the ultimately wage is what typically pulls people into a technical trade, and you get to the point that the cost for a journeyman electrician is appealing enough that dad is talking to his son about, you might want to think about a career as an electrician. So we're getting back there now. Unfortunately, it's at the expense of the pro forma, and it is driving up the TI dollars as we speak. And I say that we've certainly seen some leveling really in the last, let's call it quarter, as the Fed is ratcheting up the interest rates, a quarter of a point at a time. It is slowing things down nationally, more so than locally. And we're starting to see the effects of that favorably, in that, prices are stabilizing. And I think in some cases, we're seeing some improvements from the subcontractors. I think it's more, they're starting to see how quickly at their current scale they can burn off their backlog. And so they're being a little bit more aggressive in their pricing. The commodities have improved a little bit. If you fill up if you're still one that fills up your car at the pump, you can directly correlate the price at the pump will correlate directly to the price of a pound of copper, and that'll correlate directly to your commodity price wrapped into your TI pricing. And if you're going, wow, it's $5.25 a gallon at the pump, that's rippling through the supply chain, the cost of commodities, the delivery of the commodities, the delivery of everything. It's rippling through. Conversely, if you happen to get to see a 3.5 again in the future, you should expect the commodity pricing within a TI to follow it. And so anyway, if those are, you may have an electric car and you're just driving by that gas station, but the gas station pricing will tell you what's going on in the TI world. It's a funny way to put it, but it's real. So
it all starts with the oil. Okay, so given all that, you're talking about pricing stabilizing. What's your best guess for the next 12 months on TI pricing in particular? So right now, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, an office build out from Shell, you could get done for around $65 a square foot, and depending on the building and the condition, it can be anywhere from $80 to $100 a square foot. So given that, in the next 12 months, would you say that top range of the 80 to 100 comes down by 5%, 10%? What's your best guess?
I think in the next calendar year, I think it's going to stay fairly flat. And I think actually from the commodities side, the contractors and subcontractors may see some pressure, i.e. commodities trending upward, but slightly. But I do think on their fees and somewhat on the labor side, it'll hedge the increase on the commodity side to net relatively flat. Is my sense. There's so much work in the greater Phoenix that the pressure on the trades, the mega projects, TSMC, Intel, Meta in the East Valley, there's just a lot of work that's going to require some time to burn off in the greater Phoenix. So nationally, you're starting to see correction now. There are some the residential trade at large, the new starts are coming to a crashing halt in some markets. Their sales have stopped, and so they're stopping production. And so as trades migrate between residential and commercial, that helps the equation from a supply demand point of view. And nationally, economy cooling, I think the foreman coming in demanding another $2 or $3 versus being thankful that his company has a pipeline of work, I think some perspective will shift favorably there. So anyway, I'm going to call it's going to look relatively flat. The mechanics within it, there will vary. We'll mask that. So.
Got it. Okay, so we're counting. Hopefully, ASU and the other schools here are going to put out some more tradesmen and women and labor. How about immigration from other markets? Phoenix is booming. It's a great place to live. Are we going to see many people get fed up with say living on the West Coast and want to come here for a lower cost of living? Is that going to be enough to affect any of this labor?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming out of a 24-month period where we couldn't pull people in because the economy they were in was just as hot as the Phoenix economy, and our wages, relative to most markets, are not a premium anymore. We're going into a period that I think is the other national markets cool, that we'll be able to pull people in again. Used to be that the housing side of the equation was almost always an advantage Phoenix, meaning they were getting more buying power when they moved. Over the last 36 months in particular, I think to the east, we've lost that advantage. To the west, we still have an advantage. It's just not as big as it once was. So yeah, net new migration in to a healthy economy, or one of the economies that remains healthy, I see that, and I see it being a favorable factor as well. So as the country cools, the Fed's actually helping us, in my opinion, on this topic.
How about any creative value engineering solutions that you've come across this year? Any nuggets you can pass along?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the old we are seeing a post-COVID era, a swing back to less open space, and the premise that an open space with an open ceiling brings a cost advantage, that it never did. The open space, open ceiling, you end up paying to have a level of finish, to look at things that are not exposed in a built out environment that's not the open cubicle environment. So I think in a lot of cases we're going to go back to some of the older footprints and build outs that are actually less open and therefore more cost effective, as long as the densities don't become extreme. More of a mid ground in your private to open mix is an advantage in pricing, and it's certainly an advantage in a post-COVID era. And so anyway, that's what we're seeing. I mean, prior to COVID and prior to the real price escalation, boy, I mean, every office footprint was 80% open, and there's actually a pricing disadvantage to that. And I think that a lot of the market never really wrapped their head around that. And so anyway, watch your space plans for percentage of open, and know that there's a non-open strategy that actually has an advantage.
That's a great point. Okay, last question. How about on shell pricing? And maybe it's two questions. On shell pricing for office buildings, has that fluctuated as much? We talked on TI, 60 to $100, huge swing. Are you seeing a similar swing with the actual shell of the building versus the interiors? We're still sitting at premiums.
It's very similar. I mean, the percentage of premium in a TI versus the percentage of premium in a shell build, they're very similar, in putting a lot of pressure on performance to move forward or not. And until the industrial wave curtails a bit, that pressure is impacting office pricing, right? And until those trades don't have more work than they can get to. And the reality right now, although land trading is reduced, and the front end side is curtailed some, there's just volumes and volumes and volumes of buildings underway, primarily industrial, and as a result, we're until that backlog burns off, we're not going to see any favorable trends on any budgets. So my sense is at Q1 of 24, where we tangibly start seeing some budgets on a new build improve because backlogs have burned off, supply chain has normalized. That I think that's what my gut says, that to tangibly see it on a new office building.
Understood. Okay, and then last question: how are the requests, if any, coming in for developers looking to build new office? Do you have anyone that you're actively talking to right now, or you too busy with your industrial guys and office guys?
No. There are a couple, and again, a couple of the players that this community has seen build in all markets, or going through some zoning approval and the like on some, call it office park environments as we speak. So yeah, we're a couple, we've always got a couple players that tend to march to the beat of their own drum and maybe view it as an advantage to have a new product that they're rolling out when others aren't. So.
Got it. Okay, that's all the time that we've got today. These are some great insights. The quick insights I took were 45 to 50% increase in TI costs over the last 24 months. And for most of 2023, prices are going to stay flat. In Q1 2024, at least on the shell pricing, we could see some burn off of backlog and prices go down. Hopefully that hits TIs as well. And then also look at going back to older footprints that are less open but more cost effective. So
absolutely, and a little more COVID friendly as well. So yes,
for sure. So James Murphy of Willmeng, thank you so much for being on. Again, I'm Andrew Cheney with the Coppola-Cheney Group of Lee and Associates. Have a great week.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for all you do. Good to see you.
Good to see you.